organizations in the exploitation of technology and communication is truly a global vulnerability. It is imperative that the international community, ourselves, because there is no international, we start here, finds the resolve and determination to prioritize the fight against terrorism, including measures to regulate online spaces and access to high-risk technologies. Failure in this regard is, of course, being felt in the global south more, but I think it is useful. That is why a forum like this is important, so that people can invest in a common understanding of how this threat is mutating, but how we can invest, even in terms of research and technology, even begin to provide recommendation to industry in terms of innovation. It's going to be a steep learning curve, because our enemy is resilient, our enemy is innovative, our enemy is highly innovative, adaptive. To fully appreciate how this exploitation is happening by terrorists, we must be nimble and informed in how we perceive the threat, in how we equally leverage on these new technologies to respond to it. And finally, it is useful that we evolve domestic policy and legal framework that is versatile and effective. Our response must be anchored in the rule of law, which is what contrasts us from the violent utopia terrorists seek to create, and which reaffirms our shared values, common aspirations, and enduring commitment to a just and peaceful world. It is imperative that we create these policy and legal frameworks which mark a first victory in the fight against terrorism, exploitation of technology, and communication. And in this regard, I wish to underscore the value of working together of all actors in order that we can have a 360 degrees view of the theater in which we work. We must work with people, we must work with government, we must work with the technology industry in order to ask, as the director said earlier, to ask the right questions, to determine what pathways we must take, to monitor our implementation and practice, but most importantly, in order to detect the gaps and to course correct in good time. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I wish to recognize and celebrate the active and growing participation of countries from the region in the Nairobi Caucus. Much is said about Africa becoming the epicenter of terrorism. It is therefore gratifying to see many African heads of counterterrorism agencies from Botswana, DR Congo, Rwanda, Somalia, South Africa.
Well, that is the National Security Advisor to the President, Monica Juma Ambassador, addressing a conference around countering terrorism in the Greater Horn of Africa. We have a reporter there who should be compiling a comprehensive piece, and thereafter we should be having it in our consecutive bulletins. And so let's now, I told you something about the wildebeest migration. It is one of the great wonders of the world. Thousands of visitors have flocked to the Masai Mara just to witness this spectacle. And our reporter Irene Muchuma is one of the thousands of people who are there. She's now going to give us an update. Muchuma, what do we need to know at this point?
Good morning, O'Brien. Right as you've put it, we're coming to live from the Masai Mara National Reserve. We are in the Mara Triangle, the other side of the Masai Mara National Reserve. It is the peak season in the Mara. Actually, it is the peak season in the tourism calendar in the country, and this is when we are witnessing the wildebeest migration. And O'Brien, you know what that means. We are witnessing millions of the wildebeest crossing over the Mara River, and it is one that will take you some time to be able to capture the moments of the wildebeest crossing over the Mara River. It's a bit windy in the Masai Mara, but we do appreciate the number of tourists has improved compared to the previous years, especially after the hit of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country and also in other parts of the world. Without further ado, Brian, let me bring on board the GM for and the Beyond, Kichwa Tembo James Shege, to give us the statistics where we are today now that the wildebeest migration has begun. Mr. Shege, welcome on set.
Thank you.
When we look at the previous years, the number of tourists who have been able to come during the wildebeest migration, where would you rate this season?
Well, we have seen a great increase in the numbers as compared to even last year, and it's growing well. And so far, occupancies are looking good all the way to November. And if all goes well, I think this will be the best year since COVID.
I do understand right now we are doing at 99.5% in terms of occupancy, but then which do we have, who are the largest clients that we have here?
Well, let's say like 60% of our market is like Americans, but we still have a mixture. We have Europeans also, and Scandinavians, as well as from South America. So it's a mixed market. We haven't seen much of a domestic market, but possibly be on the way.
But why do you think during the high season we normally have low number of tourists locally compared to other parts of the world? What is the reason? Do you think our rates are a bit high, or what could be the reason behind this?
Well, I would think the rates also plays a factor, because in our sector this is the busy time, and this is the time people live. Like over when you get to Christmas and then you get the locals, local market coming in.
Thank you. That is James Shege, the GM and the Beyond. Right now I'm bringing on board Chariot Charity, one of the tour guides who I've been able to interact with, taking us to these destinations that we are able to actually spot the wildlife and also understand the concept behind this migration. Charity, how has it been? When did the migration begin?
Like the last week of July, that's when we started seeing the migration at the southern part of the reserve. As from yesterday, we had a very huge group coming from the southwestern part of the game reserve. And I would say for the last few years, we've been witnessing a lot of migration, which is fantastic. And in terms of river crossing, it's happening now at the southern part of the reserve, which is Mara Bridge. And the last few days, the guests have been seeing fantastic crossing with the wildebeest and zebras. And of course, some toppies have been seen also crossing the river. And of course, I'm sure I've seen a lot of crocodiles having a fantastic feast from the animals that are crossing the river.
Chariot, from where you stand right now, there's been a concern that the number of wildebeest to the Mara this time round reduced compared to last year. How true is that from the information you've gathered?
I won't talk of the numbers have reduced, but the movement of the wildebeest have really changed a lot. I remember the last 2 to 3 years, we could see the wildebeest in front of the camp where we are standing now. But for 2 to 3 years, we haven't seen the wildebeest in this area. So it's like either there is a lot of grass for them to feed on, or maybe it's shortened. The time has been shortened to stay in the Mara. But we haven't witnessed a lot of crossing last year, but we're hoping for a lot of crossing this year around.
Thank you, Chariot. And Brian, before I get back to you, this morning we were able to have an experience of a kind, an air balloon safari. But I would like to get it from one of the captains. Why would we prefer the air balloons compared to the normal game drives in the Mara? Do we have a different experience? Let's start with the names.
My name is Ihab, a chief pilot of Skyship Balloons. Hot air balloon in Masai Mara, one from the best places you can do balloon in the world. I did many countries, but you don't compare in between Masai Mara and any other countries' experience. The experience in hot air balloon in Masai Mara, you can see the wildlife from different view. You can see the cats when the grass tall now before the migration season. It's difficult to spot from the safari cars because the grass is a little bit high. From the balloon, you can spot from different angle. It will be easy to also to visit places never ever you can go with the safari car because sometimes swampy, forest, whatever. But the hot air balloon experience, this is nothing compared. This one you can find out many other places you cannot see by safari car. Different experience completely, and one from the best places in the world.
Supposedly it falls from up the sky.
No, but when you are floating on top of the wildlife, especially over the migration, the view is no compare. It's really amazing.
Thank you. That is the captain of the day. O'Brien, it has been a good experience and we're still here for a couple of days. So we will be able to tell you how our experience goes, of course, on Magical Sense segment and also in our bulletins. You can see the Mara is green. The rains that actually poured in the country did us justice. And so the wildlife, and especially the wildebeest, the zebras, and the antelopes have a reason to be on this side of the Mara. O'Brien?
Well, what else would you ask for when you are just watching one of the greatest wild spectacles? That is the wild beast migration on top of a hot air balloon. I mean, it should be on your bucket list. That is one thing that you ought to do, you know, before you exit this live. Watching the wild beast migration, you know, on a hot air balloon. It can't get better than that. I mean, and Irene Muchuma is tracking the migration. This is dubbed as one of the biggest spectacles of the human life, where more than 1,000 gazelles, wildebeest, and tortoises, you know, moving. And this is something that can even be watched from space. And that's why the wildebeest migration is one of the greatest wonders of the world. Well, we are back in studio. Our conversation this morning is around genome editing, and we're in the company of a great scientist. And when I'm talking about great scientists, I'm talking about Professor Stephen Iruno, who is a molecular biologist from Kenyatta University, seated just on my left, and Josephat Mushiri, the Deputy Director of Technical Services at the National Biosafety Authority in the middle, and of course James Karanja, doctor, who is a maize breeder with the Carlo. Well, joining us, let's now have this conversation. Remember, we are keeping tabs of what's happening around town and, of course, around the country. And the public sector working group is currently meeting at the Safari Park Hotel. And let's now go there and listening to the Cabinet Secretary, Public Service. This is Aisha Jumo, and then I will come back with the conversation.
Right, convening by several organizations, including Crown Trust, Care Kenya, University of Nairobi WeHub, Eco Network Africa, among other partners. However, we must do more to pull together, to avoid duplication, to use our resources efficiently and effectively, and the slogan, leaving no one behind. The government stands ready to support joint efforts from our non-state actors towards the acceleration of gender equality. To our dependable development partners, Kenya is extremely lucky to have a notable large number of gender development partners. Indeed, the great milestones in gender equality and the empowerment of women could not have been achieved without your support. We thank you so much. I commend you for all your efforts. Importantly, allow me to recall the 2005 Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness and subsequent high-level review forum on the same. The expectations here is that donor support should be better coordinated aligned to the country's priorities, delivered in a harmonized way, results to be measured with mutual accountability. And this is my plea to you. Through the Gender Sector Working Group, let us endeavor to uphold these principles. I am sure the PS, Madam Veronica Nduva, will share in details in specific areas of support under the plan. Alignment to the government priority is very critical for your support to both state and non-state actors. It is my desire to see a more coordinated gender sector, state and non-state actors. I challenge my development partners, friends, to offer support so we can consolidate all the work in Kenya on gender equality and the empowerment of women. From where I sit, I hardly have readily available data on gender programs and investment across the country. We need a one-stop shop on gender data, which can provide real-time data on the mapping of gender equality initiatives in the country, county-based indicating the actors, geographical coverage and development partners' investment. And we can add on the other variables. This will help us at a glance to get a view of what is happening across the country on gender equality, which is useful information to inform policy and decision making. This is food for thought for all of us. In conclusion, I want to reiterate my personal commitment and that of the ministry and government as a whole in partnership for realization of gender equality and empowerment of women and girls in Kenya. As we continue with our deliberations, I am confident that together we will realize all our objectives, delivering as one, and drive forward the cause of gender equality and women's empowerment in Kenya. With those few remarks, once again, thank you all for your dedication and commitment. May we have a successful and productive meeting, and you can always count on my support as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of gender in this administration. I thank you all.
That is the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service and Gender, Aisha Jumwa, there addressing a forum on gender at the Nairobi Safari Park Hotel. We're keeping an eye on what is happening around the country. And of course, we shall be linking up with our reporters who are covering various events. We're also keeping an eye on the Konza Technopolis, where President William Ruto is expected to visit the expansive park and, of course, open the first virtual university at the Technopolis. He will also be tracking the development of the Technopolis, which is dubbed the African Silicon Savannah. We are back in studio. I've been telling you that our conversation this morning revolves around genome editing in Kenya, what it means and what is Kenya doing to advance this scientific breakthrough. Yeah, the company of scientists. I've been telling you these. And Josephat Mushiri is the Deputy Director of Technical Services at the National Biosafety Authority. He's the man in the middle. Thank you very much indeed, Joseph, for your time.
Thank you.
And Professor Stephen Runo, he's a molecular biologist at the Kenyatta University, just right to my left. Asante sana, Professor, for your time.
Karibu.
And of course, James Karanja, doctor, is a maize breeder with Karo. Asante sana. Yeah, so before we went for the break, I wanted to hear this from Professor Stephen Runo. What is genome editing?
Yeah, thank you. And I was just in the middle of explaining what genome editing is, and I think we'll cover a lot of in our discussion today about what the potential of genome editing is, especially for agriculture here in Kenya and in general Africa. But really, genome editing is a new breeding technology anchored on the principle of versatility and to precision, and I'll explain what that means. Precision means, and I'm glad you mentioned deoxyribonucleic acid, and I want to start from there. Deoxyribonucleic acid, very simply known by most people as DNA, is the molecule that defines our living characteristics, right? So it determines how tall we are, how short we are, and in crops, and in crop improvement determines how much yield you're going to get, how effective the plant is going to extract nutrients from soil. And in all breeding technologies, what we do and what mankind has done over time is to alter or to change the order of the DNA code. So genetic breeding, as it's known. And so what genome editing offers is a very fast and a very precise way of achieving this process of achieving changes in DNA sequence with the ultimate aim of creating better crops. And I said it's also versatile, and versatility here comes in the sense that it is applicable in livestock, it is applicable in crops, and really making very major breakthroughs in human medicine and in therapy.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of human medicine. And the first human genome project, that was completed back in 1993, gave the world serious breakthrough when it comes to dealing with major illnesses. For the first time, scientists would be able to break down your DNA and do genome sequencing just to find out what kind of diseases are likely to affect you and how to deal with these. So how is this different from animal and plant genome editing?
Yeah, so and I'm glad we've talked about the genome sequence of the humans, the human genome back in the day, and this is a long time ago. A lot has changed ever since. So what was achieved in a very long time with a lot of money cannot be achieved in a very short time with significantly less money. So we have advanced quite significantly from the initial first human genome project today to today. Today it's possible to achieve genome sequencing within a period of within 12 hours or within a shorter time, and in a very cost-effective manner. But going back to what that has done, to what that did to improve therapy and to improve management of disease conditions in human, was to get a preview of what conditions you are exposed to. You are predisposed to, say, cancers later in life. You are predisposed to this kind of condition later in life, and what you can do is to try and get prevention before that, or preventive measures and mitigations before that, and even more importantly, being able to manage those conditions in what came to be known as human gene therapy. So you're able to treat conditions based on predictions that you have made, based on information that you have on the human genome. And the same is happening today. So you're able to get the blueprint of life. So you're able to know exactly how these characteristics are going to be affecting this plant. And you have the opportunity to firsthand determine if you want to get disease resistance, and you just need to plug in the tools that you can use to achieve that. And you're also able to predict yield, and you're able to change and alter and improve yields of crops. And the same for animals. So you're able to look at an animal and know the blueprint of that animal, and with that information you can be able to again achieve better animals. So you can be able to say, okay, I want an animal that does not have so much horn development or not so big horns because they'll hurt themselves, and you're able to change that in subsequent generations. So really getting a lot of information and using that information to create better crops, better animals, and to overcome some of the greatest diseases that we have in mankind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you look at the Kenya Agricultural Livestock and Research Organization, where Dr. James Karanja works as a maize breeder, what's the correlation? So, what's the correlation between a genome human sequencing and the genome editing of animals and plants? Is there any difference between the two?
Yeah, thank you. I don't think when you come to science and when you come to the issue of genetics, so if you look at the backbone or the building blocks of genetics, it's more similar. It's only that because we normally say that the genetics or what the DNA are about is it's just the way the building blocks are organized. That makes either talk about an animal, talk about human being, talk about of a plant, but the building blocks are more or less the same. So when you come to the application of any technology that is aiming at the genetics or the makeup, whether it's a plant, livestock, or human being, it is commonly the principles are the same. The methodology are the same. So the only thing that you differ is what are you aiming at. So when you come to the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, we are mandated to coming up with the innovations that are addressing the demands that or the challenges that are facing our farmers, who are the main contributor of food, feed, and nutrition security in this country. So as we normally look at which tool do we have in place or at our hand that will help us quickly develop or come up with that product that is addressing the challenges of the farmers. And that is why if you look at also CARO is distributed all over the country. This is to make sure that it is easily, that product that CARO developed easily reaches the farmer. So when you come to the genome editing, we all look at what are the challenges. For example, right now, we are talking about the challenge of drought. So yes, the government gave out the fertilizer and our farmers woke up very early, God blessed us with rains, but it was not enough. So the seed is there, but the rain is not enough. So how can we use this tool? It is just one of the many tools that we can use in coming up with the drought tolerant. If not that, we talk about the pest. So how can we use all the tools that we have, come up with the best product that is going to address that disease, that pest, that is also robbing our farmers their harvest. And so this is all we look at the research on agriculture level. Not only that, when you come also to the livestock, there are diseases that also affect the livestock.
I want you to hold it there because I should be coming back to you because your mandate, as an agricultural research institution, is number one to use science, research, and innovation, to come up with breakthrough technologies in agriculture. But I just want to hear from Josephat Moshiri here. As the regulator, the National Biosafety Authority, whose work is to ensure that the agricultural research, the human research, it is done within the law. Is this such a serious assignment? Definitely. And so how do you ensure that this research, is done within the law?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. It's forward to introduce the National Biosafety Authority, NBA. It was established more than 10 years ago, around 2010, basically to provide regulatory oversight on modern biotechnologies, including genetic verification.
Very good. Just a minute. We need to go to Konza Technopolis. Sorry, we should be coming back to you. We just now want to go to Konza Technopolis, where the president is expected. But before there, we are taking a break, and thereafter we'll be back with more.
Mimi Lea sitakubali kukaa hapa unitie miji dawa na unidunge miji sindano nisioyajua mwanzo wala mwisho. Never.
Kwa kelele hizo Lea, utatiwa kamba, utafungwa kamba.
Siwezi kuwapatia pesa zangu hawa makurabu, itakuwa ni kamba kutupa tu. Hata fadhali nikawapatia maskini. Gentleman.
Yes, madam.
Najua imekuwa muda mrefu sana tangu tufanye kazi tu. Lakini do me the honor.
This will be the last time you see her. Please. Sitaja hata jina langu.
영준 신부님 시신 명예훼손한 거, 구영사 후배 죽이고 그 가족들까지 위협한 거
제발 부탁 들어주십시오. 아들이기 때문에 안 들어주는 거야. 진노인 내가 진짜 감히 지금 누구를...
You see, back in 1997, Kenya awarded the first charter to the Virtual University, to the first Virtual University here in Kenya. And fast forward today, the President, William Ruto, is going to award the charter to the first open university, to the open public university, or Open University of Kenya. Yes, I got it right. Open University of Kenya. What kind of concept is this? Time now to link up with Wairi Mujenga, who is at the Konza Technopolis. She's going to help us understand what is Open University of Kenya and at what time we're expecting the President. Wairi Mujenga, if you can hear me, take it up.
Well, thank you, Ben, Troy. We are right here at the Konza Technopolis, which is 64 kilometers south of Nairobi, where President William Ruto is right here with us. He is currently touring the Konza Technopolis that lies on about 5,000 acres right here in Machakos County. Remember, this is a project that has taken over 10 years, and infrastructure, that is horizontal infrastructure, has been going on right here in this piece of land. And currently, President arrived around 10 a.m. and right now he's being taken round to just see how far the construction of the horizontal infrastructure is going on. Remember, after the phase 1 of the construction, phase 2 will kick off where investors who have been sourced by the Konza Technopolis Authority to put up their branches or their investment right here in this land. And we will be seeing some of the constructions that are ongoing right here at the Konza Technopolis. As you can see right behind me, we have the Open University of Kenya. This is one of the construction that has been ongoing right here at the Konza, and it is one that the President William Ruto has come to officially officiate. And this Konza and this Open University of Kenya will see the President award charter to ensure that this university kicks off. Now, if I may take you through the President's program, His Excellency will unveil a commemorative plaque to officially open the Open University of Kenya. Now, His Excellency currently now is being taken on a guided tour of the facility. From there, the President, His Excellency will proceed now to the presidential dais, where over 1,000 delegates are here from the ICT hub, from various institutions right here in the country. And remember, this country is focusing mostly on digital transformation, and Konza Technopolis will play a key role in ensuring that we as the country become the digital and innovation hub in Africa. Remember, this Konza Technopolis has been dubbed as the African Silicon Valley, and mostly Kenyans had considered it or called it as a white elephant. And as you can see, there has been ongoing construction, ongoing investment. If my cameraman can pan you and show you some of the infrastructure development that has going on, we are seeing roads have been constructed. Their electricity, the substation is ongoing for the supply of electricity in this Konza Technopolis. You can see the roads are intact, and also you can see the lights. The lights here, right here, are still ongoing when it comes to the construction of this place. And if I may take you through what the government, when it came to the budget 2023 for the ICT sector, remember the ICT sector received a huge amount of funding during this year's budget, where we saw 15.1 billion shillings being given to the ICT sector. And just to take you through some of the areas that were considered during this budget, we saw the horizontal infrastructure of phase 1. That was what I was talking about, the substation, the electricity that is ongoing, right, the construction of roads and other areas that will ensure for the vertical construction, which will now call for the investors to come in for the phase 2. We saw the horizontal infrastructure phase 1 be given 4.8 billion shillings. We saw 1.2 billion shillings go to the Konza data center and smart city facilities. These are one of the center that is coming up once the phase 1 is complete. Remember, phase 1 is about 90% complete. Now, 5.7 billion shillings for the construction of the Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. This is one of the institutions that has been talked about mostly, that will consider Kenyans right here, and also various students from various countries to come in the country and study ICT. It will be right here. It's actually being constructed right here at Konza Technopolis, and is expected to be officially opened in September, according to the Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo. We saw 1.3 billion shillings going to the rehabilitation of the National Optic Fiber Backbone Phase 2 expansion cable, and now 475 million for the construction of Konza Complex Phase 1B. This is all the government showing commitment to expanding digital connectivity right here at the Konza, right here in the country. Well, we are waiting for the President. He is currently being taken a tour of the Konza Technopolis, and also later on he will take a tour of the Open University of Kenya before he addresses the delegates right here in at Konza. And we have seen various delegates who have accompanied the president, various governors. We have seen various senators who are right here to accompany the government. We are seeing the Director General of the Communication Authority, that is Ezra Chiloba, right here to represent the communication sector and various other stakeholders who are key in the growth of the ICT sector. Remember, Konza, as dubbed as the African Silicon Valley, is one to watch out for it will make Kenya or position Kenya as the innovation and ICT hub. Back to you in studio, Troy.
Well, Karen Jenga there keeps on calling me Ben Troy Joy. I don't know for whatever reasons, but I mean, that is something I need to pick it up with her. I mean, she's coming to us live from Konza Technopolis, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected, or is already there actually, and he's going to award the charter for the Open University of Kenya, which is setting up its base at the Konza Technopolis. And so when the signal is ready for the president to speak, we shall be going live there so that we can get to understand what the president is talking about. We're back in the studio. Our conversation this morning revolves around genome editing. We are the company of scientists. I've been telling you this. Before we went for that break, we were talking to Josephat Mushiri, the Deputy Director, Technical Services of the National Biosafety Authority. And I was asking him, what is the authority doing to ensure that, there is proper regulations, there is proper adherence to the law when it comes to issues around genome editing? You may want to pick it up from there now.
Thank you very much. I was saying the National Biosafety Authority was established some times back in 2010, basically to offer oversight and regulation of modern biotechnologies that include genetically modified organisms and other emerging technologies such as genome editing. But this discussion on the regulation of modern technologies started way back about the year 2000 when countries allowed the group signed and ratified the Cartagena Protocol on biosafety. That protocol basically provided a general framework at the global level on how modern technologies in countries that adopt these technologies should regulate modern biotechnologies. At the national level, the government in 2006 approved the National Technology Policy. And in 2009, it enacted the Biosafety Act of 2009. After that, we have had a number of regulations published. The mandate of NBA is basically to ensure as scientists do research on modern biotechnology, where they are moving genes from one organism to the other. There's responsible use of that technology before it is finally deployed to members of the public.
And so, what would you say has been the biggest achievement for the National Biosafety Authority? I know the country has passed a number of regulations, and one of them was just last year we saw Cabinet approve or lifted a ban on the import and use and the growing of what do we call this? This product, genetically modified, yes, GMO food. What would you say has been the biggest achievement of National Biosafety Authority?
As I said, our work is basically to offer regulatory functions to people dealing with the GM products. But as you recall, in 2020, that is almost 3 years ago, the National Biosafety Authority approved the commercialization of BT cotton that is modified by the Kenya Agricultural Research Organization to have resistance to the cotton bollworm. That cotton was approved in 2020. It is already with the farmers. Now, last year, as we said, the Cabinet lifted a ban that has been there on the importation of GM foods. The ban was basically put in 2012, basically following some publication in other countries. That ban has been there, but the ban only blocked importation. At the national level, we continued to monitor research from our scientists, and it is from that research that we are able to approve the commercialization of BT cotton. But following the cabinet decision to lift that ban, some petitioners have gone to court. So that matter is still in court, and we don't want to discuss the matters that are already in court.
And so coming back to Professor Stephen Runo, have we managed to make any breakthrough when it comes to genome editing, for example, for plants yet?
Yeah, so Kenya, and I should say Kenya and some countries in Africa have been at the forefront in developing and in partnering with other colleagues to develop products uniquely to solve problems here. And James will talk about this, I'm sure. So Calro is at the forefront of developing maize that is resistant to maize lethal necrosis, so addressing challenges that are hitting us here in Kenya. And Kenyatta University, together with partners, has been developing sorghum that is resistant to a parasitic plant. I don't know if you know this plant, O'Brien. I doubt you know it. Or if you know it, you'll think it's a very beautiful plant. If you've been to Western Kenya, starting from Horoni, going towards Kisumu, and then most of Western Kenya, and especially at this time there's a plant called striga, in local languages called kayongo, or the witchweed. And so what Kenyatta University has done is to develop resistance, or is developing resistance against this parasitic plant. So it's a weed that reduces crop yields about 30 to 100% yield losses. So with the goodwill of the government, and with a very able regulatory system, and with a team of very dedicated and very intelligent scientists, Kenyatta University has been at the forefront of developing these products. And that's just two of the examples that I've given. There's a lot of work that is happening at Calro. There's a lot of work that is happening at the International Livestock Research Institute. There's a lot of work that is happening at the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, IITA. And I want to single out work that is being done by a really talented researcher there. And this is on development of banana that is resistant against bacterial wilt, for example, and viruses of bananas. So I think what happened is that Kenya has positioned itself very well and put itself at a very, very good take-off position for adoption of this, and we credit a lot really the goodwill of the government, the very sound and very scientific-based regulation and legislation by the National Biosafety Authority. And I'm sure Josephat will talk about this, but Kenya is one of the leaders in not just developing gene editing or genome editing products, but also in legislation and in sensitization of gene-edited products.
And talking to Karanja here, the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, is supposed to use science, technology, as well as innovation, to come up with breakthrough innovations that helps this country to deal with various issues like hunger, like animal diseases, and so much. And so one is bound to ask, with an institution that is at the forefront of dealing with these, why do we still have hunger, and food insecurity as a major challenge to this country?
Thank you very much. And it's true. Kenya Agriculture Livestock Research Organization is mandated on coming up with innovations that not only addressing the challenge, but these are also demand-driven by our farmers. And actually, there is a whole basket of the issues that Kenya Agriculture Livestock Research Organization looks at. And Just to mention, maybe let's talk about, for example, maize, which we know is our staple crop. We know very well if there is no maize, there is no food. But yes, we don't meet the demand of this crop. And there are so many challenges that face this crop, for example. So we know very well, starting from the input, and that's why we keep on giving the government credit for giving subsidizing the fertilizer to our farmers. But as a professor has already said, we also have the diseases. And I can tell you, when you go to the Rift Valley, and especially the Bomet and the Kisii, or that region back to Kisumu, you'll find that there is this disease. And we know that we have the climate change. This disease was not there. It is a viral disease. These viruses, two viruses used to exist independently, but maybe to the weather change, the climate change, and all these issues, the two viruses decided to come together. And when now they
ganged up.
Yes, ganged up together, and now they resort to this big challenge disease in this region that is called maize rhizome necrosis. The word rhizome means that it is a killer. And I know viewers from this region, they can tell you, if there is anything that they are asking is to how can we get breeds, varieties that can overcome this. Carol has done a marvelous job. We already have now a variety that is there. Our seed companies whom we work with are already doing the bulking of this seed, and we know some of the farmers are already doing that. But that's not enough. So
have you managed to roll out this breed commercially?
Yeah, the breed is already commercial. It's already commercialized by one of our seed companies. But you still find that yes, the breed might not also overcome all the challenges, and that is why we are bringing in the gene editing also to give a better breed. And this is why gene editing specifically, you target what is that trait that the farmer wants, in which breed, and then you go to that breed and only change that trait, but all the other things remains.
Thank you very much. I mean, we'll be coming back for more. You're watching us live from Broadcasting House. This is BizCheck. A short break is well deserved. We'll be back with more. Stay right here.
Watu wa Maimahi umupo, stesheni uipendayo ya Shoro FM imekuandalia tamasha kali ya Mugithi Night Jumamosi tarehe 5 Agosti mwaka huu hapo VIP Nest Lounge Maimahi. Karabi na bendi yake wataporomosha burudani kabambe kuanzia saa 2 za usiku hadi che. Ma-MC wetu wa nguvu Mwana Mwende, Joseph Njenga na makoha wa Vioja Mahakamani wamewatayarishia vichekesho kemkema na zawadi kocho za kushindaniwa. Mafansu wa Naivasha na Maimahi mnaombwa kujitokeza tujumuike pamoja kupiga sherehe. Hii itakuwa kali sana.
Ya Allah taqabbal. Tusiwe ni wenye kuhukumiana na tusiwe ni wenye kujaji wengine, yani kuambia tuwa encourage watu katika kufanya ibada na kuomba msamaha na kurudi katika nyumba za Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
Na vile vile pia mja anaweza kutekeleza vitendo vyema sana mpaka akawa karibu sana na janna, lakini akatenda kiovu kimoja ambacho kinampelekea kupata adhabu ya Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala na kuingia katika jahannam.
unaweza muona kwenye koti?
Tulimuona vizuri na hata nilimuona kwa nikahakikisha nimemwona kwa sababu akiongea kuna jino haikuwa ni yeye, ni huyo hapa. Alisema anaitwa Dr. Mapoa.
What? Msichana sema ukweli ndio uachiliwe.
Hata hizi ziko huko kando zimeng'oka ndio hizo.
What you mean? Ushaikuwa kulipishana pesa hapo kwa kadi?
Aje sasa kwani ni makanga?
Na uwezi kuwa makanga, si ndio? Very good. So nikielelekani umeleta hapa kwa hii koti.
Atikerere. Chunga maneno yako.
Sasa unajua hii mambo yote hawa watu wananiwekelea mheshimiwa. Manake sijawahi fanya kitu kama hii mheshimiwa. How shall you close me? How shall you?
Close, are you a door to be closed or a boot?
By the way. Lakini mheshimiwa ungeniangalia tu hapo.
Hebu toka tukamzee.
Tell you this, I mean, it's very interesting to be surrounded by scientists, discussing scientific issues because they keep on throwing around tough words here, genome sequencing, DNA and such big words. And the beauty about it is that they are, able to explain what exactly it means. This morning, our conversation revolves around genome editing, and we are in the company of scientists from Kenyatta University to Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Institute organization, as well as Josephat Moshiri, who is the Deputy Director for Technical Services at the National Biosafety Authority. And before we went for the break, we were talking to Dr. James Karanja, who is a maize breeder at Carlo, and I was asking him why we still have challenges with diseases, affecting our crops, which of course is a major challenge when it comes to dealing with the issues of food security. And you talked about coming up with a breakthrough that is going to help farmers deal with one of the worst diseases affecting maize, and this is maize lethal necrosis. This breed that now you have developed, and you are saying that it is commercially now available, has it been approved by NBA? NBA, yes.
The one who was describing has not used the genome editing technologies.
Also, it hasn't.
Yeah, it is conventional. It should be conventional breeding.
So this is the conventional breed, as I said in the beginning, that when you come to research, we normally have a toolbox, and this toolbox has all the tools. So we normally check which tool should we pick to help us and use to help us get a quick solution as we work for the long term. So conventional breeding is or the traditional breeding, this is one of the quickest way of before you start using the other technologies, which will help you to get a long-term solution. So this breed that I've just talked about, it was conventional bred. Of course, it took time, given that this disease was first reported in this country in 2011, and we reached this variety in 2017. So you can see almost 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think that was the shortest time possible. Otherwise, you normally take.
So what you're saying is that genome editing, if you have to go through the genome editing process, then it is likely to take longer.
No, that's what I'm coming now to. You come to the traditional breeding, you take more time. But when you use the genome editing, because in the genome editing, you are not coming up with anything new. You just go to the ground and look at which is this variety the farmers prefers because of the other attributes, maybe to go to the other diseases. But the only thing that it is lacking, it is this new disease that has come. So you don't want to come up with a new breed because you might also miss things that our farmers prefer. So the genome editing, and that is why now we are using it also to target this disease, is you go to the breed and you look at where is this disease affecting, and then you can edit. That is the word editing. So you look and then you edit, you change, you just do a small change, and then that small change will not be noticed by anyone because all the other attributes will remain. And this is what we are doing now, and this is one of the pilot projects targeting this disease, and also as a professor have said, also the striker. So we are also applying this technology to get a maize rhizonecrosis disease more varieties that are resistant to this or that are able to overcome this disease. And as you said, we always have shortages because of the complexity of the challenges that are, yes, we solve the disease, but the drought is there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Again, there is also a shortage. We solve the drought, then tomorrow there is a new pest. As we talk here, then we have a new pest in this country which is called the fall armyworm, which was first reported in 2017. It is very devastating. Yes, the farmers are using the pesticides, but when you look at the final product, it has still the challenges because there is the cost. How many farmers can afford to buy the pesticides? How many farmers can afford to spray? Maybe twice per week or thrice per week, very few. So because of that, you find that, yes, we cannot be able to meet that demand. And that is why we are here as a research organization to try and respond to these challenges that are farmers. We may not be able to address all the challenges at once, but we hope when we come together as we are here, we can be able to achieve that goal of food and feed and nutrition.
Also help us understand this, and I would also expect an input from Josephat as well as Prof here. You see, we are now getting to hear different terminologies, being thrown around, like when you hear about hybrid maize, GMO maize, gene-edited maize. Are they all the same thing, or how different are these?
So let me start by clarifying that. We do not have GMO maize.
We don't have GMO maize.
We don't have anything like called GMO maize.
What do we have?
So what we have, it's, for example, we have the BT maize. What is it addressing? It is addressing the issue of insect pest. So it is a hybrid. Why is it a hybrid? Because it has the combination that are involved in the production of this. This is to separate it or to differentiate it from the other mechanism or other technologies of coming up with a breed.
I mean, are you trying to say that, is it that it's only that in Kenya that we do not have GMO maize? Because when you go to, let's say, like for example, in the US, you go to their supermarkets, you see a section for GMO apples, GMO beans, GMO maize, and then you go to another shelf where the food is purely natural. So what are you trying to help us understand?
So what we are saying is that it's only the technology. It's only that people decide to use the technology to describe the product. Otherwise, when you come to the product itself, if today I bring you the BT maize, or I bring the gene-edited maize targeting the disease, and I grow them side by side, and we remove the challenge, the disease is not there, the pest is not there, you will not be able to tell.
The maize
so it's only that
the same.
It will be the same because
the color will be the same.
Nothing we have changed. We only put the protection. So it is just like there now. It is very cold. Everybody is keeping himself or herself warm. You are putting that jacket. If you remove the dark jacket, does it change your name? Does it change who you are?
You still remain the same.
It will still the same. That is the thing, and that is the science behind all these developments that we are talking about here.
Prof, that's a very interesting thing. So if I was to serve you a bowl of allow me to say this for now, GMO maize and hybrid maize, and would you differentiate?
No. So GMO, and I'll break this down in a few minutes, but the principle of genetic modification, I start there, is based on something called substantial equivalence, and that's what Josephat used to regulate genetically modified organisms. And I'll define genetically modified organisms in a minute. What that means is that a hybrid, say Pioneer X, is as equivalent as Pioneer X that is developed for insect resistance using genetic modification. Everything is equivalent. The protein profile, the nutrient profile, other traits, height, everything is equivalent to the non-modified part except for the trait that is modified. So color doesn't change, it's just the precise trait that is modified. So that's what...
Will it change the nutritional value, for example?
Nothing.
It still remains the same?
Just the trait that it is modified for. And that is the whole premise and the axiom of regulation of genetically modified organisms. Substantial equivalence. It is equivalent to its non-modified counterpart, except for the trait that it's modified for. So what is a GMO? So a GMO is a genetically modified organism. That means that you can use a gene from one different organism and put it into a different organism. So you can get a gene, say, from the Bacillus thuringiensis gene or the maize.
What is that?
No, sorry. Code name for, so it's the actual name for the BT maize that my colleague Karanja is talking about. And this is a gene that was obtained from from a bacterium and then put into maize to provide resistance against pathogens. And we have done this before, Brian. So we know a long time ago you would go to a farm and then get soil and then use that soil to coat maize so that it is not destroyed by insects. So it's a bacterium that lives in soil but imparts resistance to insects. So it's a bacterium that imparts resistance to insects. And what scientists did is to get the code, the DNA of that the bacteria, and then put it into maize so that maize can be producing the insecticide itself.
What happens if you eat that
Nothing.
insect?
No, you don't eat the insect. You eat the maize that is modified to resist the insect, and nothing happens to you. The insecticide is for the insect. So you have the mechanisms, they are receptors, or receptors means that your cells will only be don't have a way of processing the insecticidal protein that is put there. And also the conditions of your gut does not allow that. So what happens is that it will be cleaved like every other food particle or food nutrient that you ingest, like any other DNA that you ingest, because we do ingest DNA. So that's a GMO. And then a gene-edited product or a genome edited product means that...
These words are tough, eh?
But I mean, they're just words. What that means is that genome edited just means that you have the whole code, the genetic components the same, from the same organism, unaltered. Nothing comes from outside. It is the same genetic information inside the plant that you're altering. So I started by saying that mankind has been breeding crops for a long time, and what we have been trying to do, get variety A, get variety B, mix these genes together, mix these two together by crossing, and by so doing you're getting genetic information from parent A, putting it into a sibling and combining it with parent B, right? So you're just mixing up genes to get the right combinations that will impart a trait that you want.
Does it change the genes of this maize now?
No. So what you're doing is to alter the same way you've been doing breeding. So the same way that you'd have variety X let me give a wheat example, for example. So if you have a variety of wheat that is resistant to pests, parent X, parent Y is not resistant, but you still want the good traits of parent B. You mix those together, and what you get as an offspring is a combination or a fusion between the two parents, and you'll be able to select for the two from the two that has the trait that you're interested in. So what you have done is to just create a new combination of genetics from one parent into the other.
So using the same concept, let's, for example, take this glass, and we do a gene editing of this glass. So we'll take glass A, the genes of glass A.
No, that's breeding.
That's breeding.
About breeding. In gene editing, you don't need to cross.
No. You don't need to.
You don't need to cross. I know that this is the glass that I want. I want this glass to maybe, or this is the plant that I want this plant to have resistance against pests. I know the gene that causes susceptibility to pests. I know the code for that. I just go alter 1 or 2 base pairs or 1 or 2 letters. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we do in breeding. Create new combinations of genetics. So I just go change 1 or 2 precisely. And the premise, I started by saying the axiom of gene editing is precision. So I just go directly, and you talked about the human genome. This is 3 times 10 raised to 9, so 3 billion base pairs. A code that is 3 times 10 raised to 9. And what I want to do is to just go to 3 of those base pairs. And I just change 1.
You've lost me. Do you want to help me?
Very simple. I'll put it very, very simple for the viewers to understand this thing called gene editing. And I'm going to use the KBC, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
Yes.
And we are here. And this is the bench. So if we move this bench from this side and we put it on the other side,
it still remains a bench.
It still remains a bench. So have we changed anything?
You have only changed the position.
We have just changed the position. That is the scenario 1 of the gene editing. We have edited this room. So by moving this bench this side and put it on the other side, but nothing else has changed. All the other things that in this studio remains the same. The scenario number 2. In the old days, KBC used to be called the Voice of Kenya. Today we call it KBC. So what have we changed? We changed V and we replaced it with K. And we changed O and replaced it with B. But the C never changed. It's still the same broadcasting. Anything that has changed?
It's still the same broadcasting house. It's only the name that has changed.
It's only the name. That is the gene editing.
That is what it means.
That is all what it means. So nothing else.
Mushiri, I mean, so how do you keep tabs of all these happenings? I mean, bearing in mind that we're in a country where you have more than 30 universities, research institutions, and thousands of researchers and geneticists. They're called geneticists?
Geneticists.
I mean, how do you keep tab of all these people to ensure that they are well regulated and their activities are within the confines of the law?
Thank you very much. What the law has done, it has created several layers of regulation. For any institution that is dealing with any work of molecular biology, like what these scientists are doing, they are supposed to have a committee that we register. It's called an Institutional Biosafety Committee that reports to us on a quarterly basis, just to tell us we have these scientists and this is also what they are doing. Now, when they bring applications to us, maybe to seek their approval, within the NDBA you have biosafety inspectors. And externally, we have also recruited people we call biosafety experts who look at the data that the scientists are bringing to us to consider and make decisions on. So that's the second area of regulation. Now, once we process that, once we get the feedback from these experts, we take those data to the board, to the NBA board. It is the NBA board that finally makes the final decisions on whether to approve these projects or not. But on a yearly basis and at a random basis, we also do routine market surveillance, impromptu. We visit the universities, we visit all research institutions, just to keep pace of what is happening, so that they also don't do things that we are not.
And which means that you also have to employ scientists.
Yes, we do. We do have scientists, first who are staff, who are members of staff. We call them biosafety inspectors, and also to offer oversight to the biosafety inspectors. We also have people who don't work with us. We call them independent expert reviewers.
Very well.
Yeah.
I am being informed that President Dr. William Ruto is finally made his way to the Konza Technopolis, where he's expected to open the Open University. He's going to award the charter. And so we should be going there, but not before I ask this question to Professor Stephen Runo. You see, the world is moving to more and more research around diseases and trying to come up with ideas that are going to help human beings deal better with diseases. And one of these concepts is human or human genome sequencing. And help us first of all understand what is that, and have you done it yourself? And would you do it?
So human genome sequencing is being able to know the order of nucleotides, or the code, basically, of your DNA. So it would getting basically the blueprint of your life. I say DNA is a code that determines our living characteristics. We have the blueprint of life, which is the human genome, which says that this protein or this gene is supposed to do this. And if you have a disease such as, or if you have this order of nucleotides, or if you have this code, then you're predisposed to these diseases, for example. And what that has helped us do over time is to help us, manage some of these diseases. But before I explain if I've done genome sequencing, I want to just point out that not just in plant, not just in crop improvement, genome editing, and a really good example of what genome editing has done in human medicine is to develop treatment for HIV. And this just means that the human being remains the same, and what you have done is to interfere or alter the gene or the protein that HIV would be interacting with to cause disease. And so that's one of the applications of genome editing. You have not changed that human being. You have just removed the part of the protein or the part of the gene that HIV would be interacting with to cause disease. And the same way you do for plants, you know that this is the part of the gene, or this is the part of the organism that it interacts with to cause disease, for maize lethal necrosis, for example. And so you just alter that sequence and remove it from the genome.
Before I let you go, because we have to go to Konza, I asked you this question. Have you done a whole genome sequencing?
For myself?
Yes.
No. I want to. I would like to. I mean...
Are you worried?
The feasibility of it is possible, but it's one of those things you feel like, should I do, should I not? I mean, fear of what will I find? But
you do not want to know what kind of,
I'm the kind
diseases.
of people that fear going to just get a test at the hospital. So there are things that I would rather stay.
Would you do it? Genome sequencing, whole?
Yeah, it's good because I would like to understand myself more. So if you get that opportunity...
Why haven't you done it yet then?
I think for now, it's always anything that you do, you have to look at what are the impact of me doing it. So what will be the value? So for now, I don't think it is of much importance. So I don't need to.
You don't need to do it.
Because it will not change me whether we bring.
But it will help you understand your the formation of your DNA, what diseases you are likely to whether you're likely to suffer from dementia in the future.
And that is what fear. That's what Professor has already said. So maybe that fear, if you sequence yourself, you find out other things that are funny, and then is it me? No, why did I do it?
It's within realms of feasibilities and possibilities. It's doable, but I mean,
it's called the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, what I don't know won't kill
you. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I mean, it's just getting better when we are winding up, because unfortunately we have to go to Konza Technopolis, where, as we have been saying, President William Ruto is expected to award the charter to Open University, which is being set up at the Konza Technopolis. Gentlemen, thank you so very much indeed for spending part of your morning with us here, and of course helping us understand this whole technical concept of genome editing. And we highly appreciate. We aren't done yet. I think we should call you again sometimes in the future, so that we can complete what we have started this morning, and also help people understand whether the pros and cons of doing a whole genome sequencing or a whole exome sequencing. You know, those are things that we need to discuss sometimes in the future. Otherwise, your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's tough in here because, I mean, the kind of stuff we're discussing here in the morning, they are tough but very, very interesting. You know, spending time with the scientists, you get to know a lot about what's happening around us. Well, but we have to give way to President Dr. William Ruto, who is currently at the Konza Technopolis, where he's going to award the charter for the Open University. Our reporter, Karen Jenga, is there. She's keeping tabs on what's happening there. So we just want to take you there. Remember, this is Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and you have been watching Peace Check. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Over to you, Konza Technopolis.
As the regulatory body, mandated to oversee the quality of university education in Kenya, the Commission will be responsible for accrediting any additional academic programs of this great university, the Open University of Kenya. Additionally, the Commission will continue to conduct regular inspections to ensure compliance with the Act as far as quality of standards are concerned. Your Excellency, drawing lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic, the establishment of the Open University of Kenya is timely, as it will provide to learners with an alternative to the conventional classroom learning. The flexibility offered by the open and distance learning will enable learners to continue their studies should we face any disruption in the near future. Moreover, the Open University of Kenya will create opportunities for international students to study in Kenya. Through online learning, students from around the world can pursue their education at the Open University of Kenya from the comfort of their respective locations. Furthermore, the Open University of Kenya will attract academic staff from around the globe to teach in Kenya. With the advancement in technology, academic staff can deliver their lectures online from anywhere in the world, and the students of Open University of Kenya will be partaking those lessons. Your Excellency, in conclusion, I would like to commend the government of the Republic of Kenya for its continued support of the university education in Kenya. The establishment of the Open University of Kenya is a remarkable achievement and a testimony to the commitment of this government to ensure that education is available to all the population wherever they are. And I firmly believe it will have a profound impact on the education sector in the country and the world. I'm convinced that the Open University of Kenya will enhance accessible and flexible quality education to learners, making a significant contribution to the human resource capital development of our great motherland. Thank you, Your Excellency. It is now my pleasure to invite the Commission Secretary again to take over. Thank you.
Your Excellency, it's now my turn to read the citation by the Secretary to the Commission for University Education. Whereas the Government of Kenya wishes to establish the Open University of Kenya, situated in Konza Technopolis, Machakos County in the Republic of Kenya. And whereas the said University of